Welcome to the Vertical MRO Podcast, where we dive into the world of helicopter maintenance, repair, and overhaul. In each episode, we talk with the technicians, engineers, and experts who keep helicopters flying. Because at the end of the day, no maintenance, no mission.
5 years old, it was my very first helicopter ride. Now, here's the kicker of the story. I was being medevaced in an Army National Guard Huey helicopter from a hospital down south to major hospital here in San Antonio. What you don't know is that I didn't mention it. It was a life-threatening event. But either ways, I was flying in the aircraft, and I had to look over to the one side, look outside. Saw my mom sitting there. She was also in the helicopter also. I'm like, this is cool. I'm a kid. I'm just eating it up. Even though I'm here fighting for my life. Oh, wow.
Welcome to the Vertical MRO Podcast, brought to you by Vertical HeliCASTS and in partnership with Vertical Magazine. In this two-part Vertical MRO podcast series, I sit down with Adam Garcia, a helicopter maintenance professional whose career spans nearly 5 decades. Adam's aviation journey began with a life-saving helicopter ride in his youth and carried him through a long and distinguished career in both military and public safety aviation. Adam served with the prestigious 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment, where he honed his technical and leadership skills in some of the most challenging environments. Later, he transitioned to public safety aviation, where he became a driving force in the San Antonio Police Department's E.A.G.L.E helicopter unit. There, he was instrumental in building and shaping the program, influencing every aspect of its development, from maintenance operations and aircraft readiness to training, team culture, and even honoring fallen officers through meaningful aircraft tail numbers. In our conversation, Adam reflects on the evolution of aircraft technology, the challenges of adapting to modern avionics and digital tools, and the importance of strong leadership in aviation maintenance. As he nears retirement, he shares valuable lessons learned, advice for future leaders, and his perspective on what it takes to keep aviation teams safe, effective, and mission-ready. Join us for an inspiring look at nearly 50 years of service, innovation, and leadership in helicopter maintenance. Thank you to our sponsors, Metro Aviation, Airbus, and HeliLadder. Hey, welcome to the Vertical MRO Podcast. I'm today's host, Jon Gray. Really excited for today's conversation. We're kicking off a series of recordings with a new awards program. And it's tough to call it an awards program because it's really a recognition program. There's a lot of awards. But what we found is in our industry, in the helicopter industry, focus a lot on the equipment we use and promote the equipment we use, take a lot of pictures of the helicopters we fly in and the equipment we use to complete the missions we're a part of. But I feel like we don't oftentimes focus on the folks that make the missions happen. So the Blades of Valor recognition program is one that was developed with the intent of promoting those good folks that make all these missions happen and ones that have really stood out and gone above and beyond, I guess, what's expected of our community. And we already really have a high threshold and a bar for the folks that are in our industry. So this, I think if you go above and beyond the high bar that's already set in our industry and you stand out, there's something to be said about you. So this recognition program, we sought nominations and we were looking for 20 folks to represent this program. And Adam Garcia, our guest today, was nominated and was selected for the recognition that we're going to talk about. Adam's experience in his career is really rich, a lot of deep understanding in the world of maintenance. And on the Hangar Z podcast, we talk about the personal equipment behind the missions in public safety aviation. And we oftentimes don't focus enough on the maintainers. We talk about it. We talk about the value that the maintainers bring, but we don't oftentimes bring them in. We don't bring them in enough to talk about the work that they're doing. So honored to have Adam here. And of course, on the Vertical MRO podcast, our goal is to promote the good work that's being done and to retain the tribal knowledge that you've developed over the course of your career. And Adam, you're going on, is it 44 years of experience now?
44 years, all helicopters.
Yeah, that's amazing. So we've got a lot of history to unpack, a lot of experience to talk about, to kind of pass that tribal knowledge on from you to the next generation. First of all, thanks for joining us on the podcast. It's an honor to have you.
Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah. We actually got a chance to meet, although Adam was inundated with folks at the Verticon booth. It was in Dallas this year. They had their new H125 on display, and the paint scheme on the helicopters was phenomenal. I want to talk about that a bit, but I think that drew people to the booth and wandered over there and had a conversation with Adam. super knowledgeable, really nice, great representation of your department. It was an honor to meet you there, and an honor to have you back on here.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. I recall the meeting, and yes, it was brief, but it was good information.
Talk about briefly your experience at Verticon this last year with your guys' ship on display.
Well, we were invited with Metro Aviation because they were our completion center that completed our aircraft. They will be doing 3 aircraft. They've already completed 2. We have 1 more to order, and it will be ordered within a year or so. And it was an invite from them, so we kind of like took it on. So, and actually, I spearheaded it, getting the city involved and getting the okay through the city. It takes a lot of negotiations and getting the okay from the city, the managers, but it's to be involved and getting involved in this. And then with them, with their marketing people, make sure everybody was set up, how everything logistically wise, how it was going to be set up. And once we got there, meeting their personnel on the ground, go and help push the aircraft in and, of course, detail it and all that kind of stuff, set it all up. It was a phenomenal experience, and I was glad to be part of it. And I had done some before, but this was just another one.
Yeah. Those shows are so critical for a lot of things. Networking is a big part of that, and that's essentially what you did. You know, the whole show is you got a chance to represent your department and get out there and network with folks and talk about the stuff you're doing. Before we get into your background, which I'm really excited to get into, I want to talk about the paint scheme in your aircraft because it's really interesting and there's some meaning behind that. Not just not just the paint scheme, but the tail numbers as well.
Yeah.
Your paint scheme, can you describe it and talk about the significance of that paint scheme?
Well, the significance of the paint scheme is an E.A.G.L.E. First of all, E.A.G.L.E. is our call sign, and it's an acronym. It's Excellence to Air and Ground Law Enforcement. A lot of people use those as their call sign. And what started off was our supervisor wanted to do the bust of the E.A.G.L.E. on the tail, the vertical tail. And I've seen that on other units, law enforcement units. I'm like, so, well, let me see what I can think about. Let me run with this and see what I can come up with. So I, in my head, I had an idea of the E.A.G.L.E, still sticking with the E.A.G.L.E. Then it stuck with the whole E.A.G.L.E on the side of the helicopter. But of course, I'm not the savviest with rendering of pictures and whatnot. So thanks to one of my mechanics, Nathan Cross, I'll give him credit. He's now working with Airbus, but he came up with the program and put the rendering on, digitized it. But it symbolizes a lot of things, you know. Of course, the E.A.G.L.E itself coming down, swooping down from above with the wings open, like it's in grab the bad guy, and the talons itself, the talons reaching out to actually capture the bad guy. So that was a lot of concept I put all together.
Yeah, it's cool how the call sign for the unit came into the design of the E.A.G.L.E and the symbolism, you know, like you talk about with the E.A.G.L.E swooping down with the talons.
And our patch also, if you can see it there. I don't know if it shows.
Oh yeah. The
E.A.G.L.E top of the badge.
I'm with you with the graphic design side of things. I can draw stick figures pretty good, but beyond that, it's a bit challenging. But to have someone like that on your team to help you come up with that design was really good, and that drew a lot of folks to your booth.
Yes, it did.
Obviously, it's a new aircraft with all the latest mission equipment. We'll get into what that looks like as we go, but so people are drawn to it by that. But then having that paint scheme on there was cool as well. Can you talk about the tail numbers? I know a lot of agencies, there's not a whole lot of rhyme or reason as to the tail numbers that they put on there. There might be some reference to law enforcement if it's a law enforcement ship, maybe some letters representing the city that they flew for, which was for mine, if you can see in the background, the November 30 November Tango. So the 0 November Tango is for Ontario, ONT, but it's, fairly plain. You guys, what you do with your tail numbers is very unique, and I think it's great. Can you talk about that?
Sure thing. When I first got here, the tail numbers were already established with the senior supervisors, and of course it's the sergeants and the captains of the unit itself. That would be their badge number with their initials. For instance, 277 Delta Tango was Sergeant David Torres's badge number, and 255 TP Tango Papa was Captain Tom Polonus's badge number. So forth. And then there was a senior CFI who had been here for eons, 30 plus years. So they gave him a tail number also. So it was very prestigious to have that kind of a thing to happen. That tail number followed that aircraft, of course, even after we sell it. It's up to the new owner whether re-registered or not. Well, anyway, so it comes to, so that was already established. Came to a point, was it 2014, if I recall? Yes, 2014, we're getting some new EC-120s to replace our Schweizer 333s that had aged and harder to get parts. So this very one humble surprise came to me when I went to go pick up those two EC-120s, the first two. And I walk in the one side of the hangar and perfect view of the paint scheme of the E.A.G.L.E. Like, awesome. That's the first thing that caught my attention. That was great. It's like my heart I was happy. So I see the tail number of that second aircraft. I go back to the tail area. The other one's parked parallel to it. So I'll go back to that tail area. Again, the paint scheme just grabbed my attention, and I didn't pay attention to the tail numbers. So I set my backpack down on the table on the far side of the hangar, set the computer, my books and paperwork and whatnot. And my senior CFI that was with me, along with one of my mechanics, that we went to go inspect the aircraft and accept it. And so they say when my back was turned to the aircraft as I was setting my bag down, I said, "Oh no, they effed up the paint scheme." The paint job. I was like, "What do you mean?" "Oh no, right now, today's the day we're accepting the aircraft. This isn't the time for something to be wrong with the paint scheme." I'm like, wow. So either ways, I turned around and then I got that all, look.
Yeah.
And they got that picture too. Well, what it was the tail number. I'm like, 573 Alpha Golf. I'm like, what? Oh. Then it all came to me. It's like, hey, that's my city ID number and AG for Adam Garcia.
Wow.
So it was to my humble surprise that our supervisor, David Torres, gave up his tail number for this newest aircraft to honor me as a director of maintenance. I guess I must be important to him, or it must be well deserved to him, So again, it was a very humbling experience.
Yeah.
That right there in itself was very great. I was grateful, very grateful.
The humbling is what I think of too when you talk about that experience. I'd imagine a little bit of a goosebump type experience when you turn around and see it's your employee number and your initials. Man, that's really cool.
Yeah, so I was honored. So anyway, continuing on with that, it started to a point to our EC-120s are starting to age, and of course they stopped making those a long time ago, and parts are just starting to get hard to get to, also just like the Schweizers were. So we decided to go a fleet of H125s, the Airbus AS350s. Same paint scheme, same capabilities. We've increased to search and rescue, hoisting and firefighting, of course. But the tail numbers went into. Now within the unit here, we decided, let's do something different. So we all got together, all the senior people, supervisors with knowledge of, of what we can do, what other people have done, units as honored fallen officers. So, okay, that is a very good idea, honor our fallen officers for the next tail number. So the consensus came up again with all the police officers here in the unit, within the unit, and said, well, now we need to pick who. So the consensus was out there. The names were thrown out. Many names were thrown out. And we decided, okay, the more votes the person gets, that'll be the tail numbers. So it came down to the last three tail numbers, and that's what we picked. And 1603 Mike is for Officer Miguel Moreno, who died in the line of duty. And 382 Bravo Mike is Benjamin Marconi, Detective Benjamin Marconi, also again, line of duty. 582 RD, which is Robert Deckard. Those three are already on in-house, already in place. One more to come, and it's going to be honored to Officer Stephanie Brown, a female officer who also died in the line of duty. Wow. So that completes those. That's at least we can do, is to honor our fallen officers.
Yeah.
They paid the ultimate sacrifice, and just hopefully we'll honor them. What we do also is when the aircraft gets to the unit, we have a dedication ceremony. A very cool thing we do. So we bring together the fallen officers' family members, all the surviving family members, and we'll have the chief of police. We're kind of like giving the city this tail number, this aircraft. The chaplain himself also will bless the aircraft, bless the family members, and also bless the unit, for ongoing. And many thanks to Airbus. Also, they get involved and they will give a poster print, just like the one in the background, a poster print along with a wooden mahogany model painted also. And those will be honored to the fallen officers' family members too.
What a powerful tribute, and you talk about paying the ultimate sacrifice. I love that their honor is being flown literally on the side of the aircraft as this aircraft flies around the region, saving lives, of civilians and protecting the lives of officers on the ground. Love that. Again, what a powerful tribute. Going back to what you talked about with your own employee number and initials as the tail number on the aircraft, that to me illustrates the level of commitment and sacrifice you've made to make your unit successful. And going through your background, you're not just the DOM there. You've literally developed this program from the ground up.
Yes,
from the hangar that you've designed to the tool layout to all the SOPs surrounding everything that's done there. You've had a hand in aircraft acquisition, mission equipment development, all those things. So I can see why your nomination and selection for the Blades of Valor recognition was made. Really, really cool.
What also sticks out with that is I'm the only civilian that got that honor. All the other ones are officers.
Wow.
Again,
wow. Yeah. What a cool experience. Let's go back and talk about your entry into aviation. We hear a lot of unique stories about people's first exposure to aviation and how people essentially develop the love for aviation. But can you talk about your youth and how you developed that love for aviation from an early age?
Thanks to our sponsor, Airbus. Airbus provides the most efficient helicopter solutions to its customers who serve, protect, and save lives and safely carry passengers in demanding environments. Its civil and military helicopters are flying all over the world, making missions possible. Visit airbus.com for more information.
Well, depends on if you want me to start at the age of 5 years old.
Yep.
Honestly, because that's when it actually started. 5 years old, it was my very first helicopter ride. Now, here's the kicker of the story. I was being medevaced in an Army National Guard Huey helicopter from a hospital down south to a major hospital here in San Antonio. What you don't know is that I didn't mention it. It was a life-threatening event. But anyways, I was flying in the aircraft and I happened to look over to the one side, look outside. Saw my mom sitting there. She was also in the helicopter also. I'm like, this is cool. And I'm a kid. I'm just eating it up, even though I'm here fighting for my life. Like, oh, wow. Well, if you want me, I can get into that a little bit more, what the injury was.
Yeah, please.
The injury was a stab wound. And my own brother. You know how your parents teach you don't be running around the house or playing with knives in the house and stuff like that? Well, somebody didn't listen. My brother. So he was running around the house with a knife, in front of him pointing. And I was running around the house. I'm a typical 5-year-old, that's what I'm expected to do, right? So he was an older brother. And he was running towards that doorway over there. And I was coming from the other side of the doorway. He didn't see me coming. I didn't see him coming. And we met right at the doorway, under the doorway. Wow. And that's where I got impaled with a big old giant butcher knife that penetrated just literally like an inch below my heart and penetrated my liver all the way through. Wow. And major damage was done, so had to get surgery, of course. But that was a crazy experience right there. So wow. Again, that was my first niche for helicopters. And I kind of loved it.
That's probably the most unique story that we've heard, when it comes to how people develop their love for aviation. But I think about your mom. You talked about her flying next to you, and as you're transported to the hospital, can't imagine the fear that she held as a parent. With you as her son being life flighted. I guess the anguish that goes with that. But ultimately, the life saving measures that helicopter is able to provide is what I love about the helicopter community. Most of what we do is mission oriented, especially in public safety, and our job is to protect life and property. And that's a great illustration of not only how it saved your life, but it also sets you up for a future of love and becoming a member of the aviation community, which is really cool.
Yeah. And this was back in, I'm thinking 1969 when all this happened. So therefore, this is before all the life flight helicopters were out, all these companies. So the Army National Guard had that duty, the medevac units. So kudos to all the people who are involved in the medevac now and life flights and for their jobs also and what they do for a living. So
Yeah.
I give them a very pat on the back.
No kidding. It's interesting, being that you're in an Army National Guard helicopter as a 5-year-old being transported. Fast forward, you join the Army after high school, and you're now working in helicopters. Talk about your decision to pursue a military career and a decision to pursue aviation.
Well, I guess I'm going to give a little bit of credit to my stepfather. He was in the Army. He was in ordnance, Vietnam veteran. And I would see him coming and going to do his drills and whatnot. So that in itself, I had an uncle who also was in the Army, Vietnam veteran also. And I would see helicopters, those Hueys, back during the Vietnam. I was during that age. I would see it on TV. So it was a very cool thing to do. But learning maintenance all started. I'll give my grandfather credit for that. He was a mechanic, automotive mechanic, that is. So I learned a lot of my hands-on mechanics traits and of what people learn from automotive. And but anyways, I took it to the next level. After I graduated from high school, I went straight into aviation and helicopters, and I made sure the recruiter. I knew by then what I'm talking to. The recruiter not talking to me. I'm talking to him. I'm telling him what I want to do.
That's a good position to be in.
You know how that is sometimes with recruiters. So I was telling him I want to go helicopters. And so he gave me the list of helicopters. He gave me the pictures. He actually you to pick which type of helicopters. So the E.A.G.L.E 58 stuck out to me very well. A reason being is because I would see that helicopter as a VIP helicopters. That's when they first started coming out, the Bell 206 Jet Rangers. So I was during the age when those helicopters first came out.
Yeah.
So those would be cool to work on. You know what? I bet you I can put that to use when I get out of the Army too. So boom, I went right into the aviation as in the Army in the helicopters and the E.A.G.L.E 58s, the Charlie models and also the Delta models, which is the Bell 407. And also thanks to the Special Operations Aviation Unit, the 160th, I also had the privilege of working on the MH6 Little Bird, which is the MD 500, the F model. Yeah. So that was my military experience.
The ultimate honor and proof of your professionalism is being selected to the 160th. I want to get to that. Mm-hmm. Before we talk about that experience, let's go back to, you mentioned your grandpa, raising you and essentially showing you the skill set that he had as an automotive mechanic. Talk about your entry into that side of the world. Was your first job holding a flashlight? What did that transition and growth look like as a young man?
I'm going to give you a couple of stories that my grandmother would say that I would have my little red wagon. You know how it is, right? I would roll it into the garage and I'd play working on it, jack it up with a little floor jack and get a wrench and a hammer and tap here, wrench there and whatnot. And my grandparents tell me that story all the time. But it was what he did, and I thought very intriguing and very knowledgeable. And he would, that same thing, ask me to hand him a wrench.
Yeah.
So which wrench? I don't know which one. So he taught me how to read wrenches, sizes, flat screwdrivers, flat tips, crescents, whatnot. So learning wrenches was the first thing, because I'm handing him the wrench.
Yep.
And then they got into, okay, want to help me out? Well, go sit in the car. we're going to bleed the brakes. You're going to pump the brakes. So again, very intrigued. Oh, this is cool. I like doing this.
Yeah.
So I got into further as the years went on, and I was doing brake job for him. I was doing alternators, fuel pumps, carburetors, not overhauling carburetors, but removing and installing. He would overhaul them, but I would see him do that. And I'm like, oh, this is easy. I can do this too. So yeah. So I got into that, and overhauling engines. Like, this is very intriguing. So again, it was just a little more that I could handle, but I would oversee him doing that. If ever I had to, I bet you I could do it. Very good experience. My grandfather had living and growing up in a garage.
So I would imagine with that little red wagon, that's when he determined or decided you have the mechanical aptitude. That's the skill to work on things.
Yeah. That was real cool. And I was on the creeper underneath the little red wagon.
So I have to ask, with that skill set, what was your first car, and how did you improve that car as you went on?
Oh yeah. Oh, I was. Let me see. My first car that I bought with my own money too, of all that. I was a junior in high school, and it was '74 Nova SS. Like, oh yeah, this is a good car with 350, and it's a true SS. But again, this is 70s still. I'm still in 70s as a junior. So that's just a good car, right? And improvements, of course, right off the bat, I took all that catalytic converter and I put dual exhaust on it, some turbo mufflers on there, made it sound real cool. And on they had the emissions control system in there, the smog pumps and whatnot. First thing I yanked that out there, power, right? So, oh yeah, cool car. Well, that first car took me all the way to my first duty station in Fort Campbell, Kentucky, and back. So that was my up until I got orders to Germany, and that's when I sold the car. I said, well, it's time for an engine overhaul. It's time for a transmission overhaul. It's time to get rid of it. I'll pick something else up in Germany. Yeah.
I would imagine if you could find it today, you'd try and get that thing back.
Oh, yes. No, never would have ever known that would be a sought after classic vehicle.
Yeah.
Now I'm into classic cars. And I would love to find that car. And every once in a while, I go through those back roads, go to my hometown. Like, maybe I'll find it somewhere back here. Yeah. I've seen it close, but it's not the same one.
Not the same one. Do you still work on classic vehicles today?
Yes, I do. And I own a 1980 Pontiac Trans Am. And also, I'm in the car club, Pontiac Car Club. So, yes, we tinker with vehicles. We all share our knowledge with each other. These old school cars, people don't understand, but they're different. The carburetor, people don't understand carburetors anymore. They're all fuel injected.
Yeah, vehicles today are difficult for anybody, including kids, to get exposure to, because there's not a whole lot you can do at home, as computerized as everything is. Let's jump forward and talk about your military experience, because I would imagine that ultimately shaped your approach to the development of the program that you're at now. So walk us through the initial part of your career and how you end up getting selected for the 160th. Thank you to our sponsor, HeliLadder. Enhance your fall protection and maintenance efficiency with HeliLadder, the industry standard of ladder workstands. The iconic orange MX5 system is fully modular and compatible with countless aircraft models for any type of operation, making you money by preventing accidents and reducing maintenance errors. For a free quote and special discounts, visit heliladder.com. Focus on your work, not your balance.
Okay. Well, again, first duty station was Fort Campbell, Kentucky, and 229th Attack Helicopter Battalion on an OH-58 Charlie model. Went to Germany. Got Germany for 3 years. I brought my family members with me, and it was coming back from Germany. It was in 1988. I was actually selected to come. I did not volunteer, but I was selected to come because there was a shortage of MOS, and also my rank and expertise, kind of like they sought me, is what they did. So once I got there to the unit in the 160th, went through the whole Green Platoon, Sierra School, all my other schools, a Little Bird School, and lots of other schools too.
Yeah.
And got to the unit.
For folks that aren't familiar with the 160th, can you talk about its prestige and its kind of place in American military?
Right. Well, the little history of 160th, it started off back in 1982, 81 when the Iran hostage situation was going on. It was a Desert One operation where it was a failed operation that AC-130s, C-130s, and MH-53s. It was a failed attempt. Well, anyways, the military decided to bring out a special operations unit that just did those kinds of things. So they did. In 82, 83, and just all volunteer unit. It was extracted. People from my unit were extracted to go to that unit because they were actually next to the hangar next door where I was at in Campbell. I was in hangar 10. They were in hangar 11. So I saw the unit from the beginning, the stages where they became, and people being yanked from our unit to go over there. And that's how I already knew about them. And actually, matter of fact, some people there knew me too. So maybe that's how my name got thrown in the hat when I came back from Germany. So
Yeah.
I don't know for sure, but I'm almost positive had something to do with that. But the Special Operations Unit has been throughout the worldwide. Any encounter, any conflict that the 160th has been in, they've been there. You just don't know it.
Yeah.
If not, they've already been there on the way out.
Right. Going back to your statement a second ago, we're talking about our community, how small our community is, how important it is for you to develop the reputation that you did because your reputation precedes you. And that is proof of that. The fact that folks knew you in the 160th and were actually recruiting you to come into that program is a huge deal. And again, it's reflective of the overall community of how you do a good job, people are going to know about that. Inversely, if you do a bad job, people are going to know about that as well. And so it just highlights the importance of doing the best job you possibly can do, regardless of where you're at and what you're doing. Because oftentimes we find ourselves in a position where I'm not really digging what I'm doing right now. But you do your best job and you find yourself in a position like you where, hey, 160th is knocking on the door asking me to come work for them. And what an honor that is.
That was an honor. And I was prestigiously glad to have been there for 12 years and many experiences, many deployments that I've been on, and I'm glad to have been in that unit. I myself also trained many people too, though I was there.
Of all the deployments you've been on, or the ones you can talk about at least, what was one of the most memorable or the most memorable deployment, and maybe a memorable incident or mission you were a part of during that deployment?
Well, of course, it was the Battle of Mogadishu, Somalia, Operation Gothic Serpent. If you remember that, a movie came out of it, the movie Black Hawk Down. That was a crazy experience. We had part with the spool up of, we spooled up 3 times before we actually went. And that's what we do. We train. We train for the environment. We train for what's going on. We train for the mission. And there was 3 training exercises prior to going. And almost one of the times, matter of fact, I'm going to back up a little bit because we already had people in country. I believe it was the 10th Mountain Division was already there, and they had their Black Hawks and the 158 and whatnot. Chinooks, yeah, Chinooks too. But there was one of those spool ups. We literally was that fast of a spool up. We're not even taking helicopters. We're going to load up our C-141s and C-130s, just the people, just us pilots and crew chiefs and support people. We're going to go. And we were going to take the aircraft of the 10th Mountain Division. That's the kind of thing the 160 can do. Say, hey, we're not going to deploy. We got a letter in our hand says, I can have your aircraft. I said, that was cool. So we can do that.
Yeah.
But that got called off in mid-flight. I said, okay. I got called up. And the next spool up was the actual mission itself. So we went from there. Well, actually, we went to Fort Bragg first. Did a little bit of training one more time. And then from Fort Bragg, we took off. We didn't take off from Fort Campbell, Kentucky. We took off from Fort Bragg. So that mission was my very first, craziest combat situation that I was ever in. Every day there was something going on. RPGs, fires being shot at us at the flight line, aircraft also. Of course, you know all the stories of all the Black Hawks that were shot down, all the people that we lost, and close friends, and most of them. I knew everybody who was from the 160th that was killed, except for one person. But and then Mike Durant, the prisoner of war, I got the honor of working side by side with him towards my last 2 years in the 160th in the training company. Of course, I moved up the rank. Now I got to find another position within the unit, so I went to the training company. My last 2 years, I worked with Mike Durant.
Wow.
who he had felt.
Yeah. What an honor.
Yeah.
Talk about during that deployment in operating some of the operational challenges that existed, because of what was happening on the ground, but also because of what was happening with the environmental conditions there. Because it seems like a very challenging environment to maintain aircraft.
It is, but we trained in that situations in those environments, whether it be desert operations or urban assault, which kind of these two are put together. We're in a small city. Yeah, there's no power, there's no lines, and half of it's all full of sand and dust, and it's just the way it is. So it's kind of like the two environments put together. Like, so this is very challenging, but we made it happen. It happened.
For a young mechanic who hasn't found him or herself in that environment, and all of a sudden they're like, "Hey, congratulations, you're going to the desert to work on some equipment." What advice would you have for folks, who haven't been in that environment? How do you maintain your equipment? How do you operate? Do you have any kind of advice for those folks?
Well, working in the desert is very challenging because sand gets in every nook and cranny, parts of the aircraft that you don't even imagine they can get into. And it interferes with a lot of things, also electrical, instruments, radios, erosion on your main rotor blades, tail rotor blades. Believe me, touch-up painting on a daily basis is what we did. The engine compressors themselves had to be washed almost daily because it's ingesting sand and it's erosive to the engine. So it's not the greatest environment to be in, and it's very challenging. So the upkeep of these aircraft is the very most important thing to do.
Yeah.
So we maintain those every day, something.
Yeah, that sand, like you said, finds its way into the smallest of crevices, and I'm sure it caused problems that you didn't anticipate. Any unanticipated maintenance events that popped up as a result of that?
You might say it just the service life limit of the blades, it just eroded them. You end up having to just replace them. The engine compressors themselves. So those two items were the most critical parts of the aircraft, had to get replaced often.
Yeah, not only are you operating in harsh environments, your deployment tempo is different than the traditional Army. Can you talk about that tempo and how that changed your job as a crew chief?
Well, the op tempo is very high in the 160th. Our mission, of course, was we get a call, we get an alert, we come in, and within 2 hours or less, we already loaded up 2 C5s and we're already heading out of country somewhere. Literally, we have a timeline, 2 hours. Now, and you talk logistically wise in the Army, it would take months to get going out of country somewhere. But the special operations community, we all stick together, whether it be the C5s, 141s, back then was 141s, now C17s, and the C-130s. We all work together as one committee. We literally all one unit. And the tempo, we get the call, we're wheels up and loaded up on the C5. I'm talking Black Hawks, Little Birds, support equipment. And if need to be, Chinooks. Chinooks can be broken down too and stuck in the C5, and we're airborne. We're going out of country somewhere.
I'm always interested to ask this question as it relates to what I'd call go bag. I'd imagine for you, having such a short amount of time to get ready to be somewhere, you had a go bag ready at all times.
Yes.
Talk about some of the tools that you put in that go bag that was like your go-to tools that you would always bring with you. Thank you to our sponsor, Metro Aviation. Metro Aviation, the world's largest family-owned aeromedical operator, offers comprehensive aircraft services with 140 plus aircraft in over 25 states. The Completion Center installs medical and law enforcement kits and avionics, serving diverse aviation needs including offshore, utility, VIP, and corporate sectors.
Well, no, it's basically everything that you could carry in a small bag, because you're saying it's a go-to bag. It's like if it was a Black Hawk bag, manufactured Black Hawk, that is, of canvas bags. I would say paint was the most thing, and safety wires, and light bulbs, because you would need everything you didn't expect sometimes. Now it's just a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
And we had our collapsible DSK, we call it, container, and we'd load that up too with all the necessities. And it was just the minimum amount because you don't got much room.
Right. Yeah, imagine because of what you're talking about, you find yourself in a position oftentimes where you're having to MacGyver solutions to things that you're like,
Oh,
well,
yeah.
I don't have this exact thing that I need, so I'm gonna essentially create it. Any stories that you can think of that kind of follow that theme?
Duct tape. That's the best tool to have in your bag. A roll of duct tape. All right. Yeah. And as honest and true, I've with duct tapes and blades, with duct tape, 100-mile-an-hour tape, and let's get going. Let's get back. Let's get out of here.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah, and the operational environments you're in, you can't sit on the ground and wait. I mean, there's threats that exist that are
Yeah.
worse than the threat of getting up and leaving in those environments. So I always find it interesting. Paint, duct tape, and some standard tools that you take with you in your go bag.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I've even used duct tape on the windshield. I mean, it broke up, shot up, whatever it may be. I said, okay, just tape the windshield up. Don't go no faster than 100 mile an hour. I'm just kidding.
Well, it's actually it leads into a good question. Maintaining windscreens is of vital importance. You know, every day, and a lot of crews after every flight will get on the front of the aircraft and clean the windscreens, so that when there's glare in that windscreen, you can see the windshield isn't pitted with sand and dirt, and there's no scratches that go across. Can you talk about your method to the madness of cleaning windows? Because there's a definite science and method behind that.
There is, and I try to instill that to our officers here, to where the best way to clean a windshield was running water and a bare hand, just your bare hand. A lot of people want to use shop towels. Well, what you got is shop towels. You're putting that sand and dirt and grit, even bugs, armor-plated bugs that you're scratching up against the windscreen along with it. So washing it all off, bare hands, and then drying it up with a chamois. And that's just not on the outside, but on the inside too, because in those environments, those helicopters, we flew without doors. So the sand and everything was inside just as much too.
Yeah.
Inside the windshield. So, but it's the best way to do it. Hand and water.
That free flowing water to get the large bits of debris off is, I think, the most important part in the beginning, right? That way, when you do run your hand across, you're not dragging debris across the windscreen. And
correct. Just making it worse.
Definitely a science behind that. Any polishing compounds or any chemicals that you found that were helpful or do today?
Well, back then, I'm going to say, yes, cleaning the windshields and help protecting the windshields and even polishing them a little bit was literally Pledge. You remember the furniture polish?
Yeah.
You ever heard of this? Pledge back then was the thing to use on the windshield, and it helped not just to help protect the windscreens, a little bit of anti-fog protection also would help. Now, there's all kinds of products out there. There's a Prest, there's that 210 acrylic plastic clear.
Yeah, that's what we use.
The 210 one. Yeah, there's so many of them out there where they're all the same product. They all do the same thing. Okay, and that's a spray foam. Hopes wash it off, curve it off. Same concept.
What would you say when you look back on your military career were some of the things that kind of molded and shaped your career afterwards? What are some of the things that you kind of brought forward that when you look back, you're like, oh, I developed this routine or this mindset because of my time in the Army?
Oh, yeah. Well, first of all, my leadership skills, that was the most important thing that I put to use. And one other skill was when I, of course, go up in rank, you're no longer a crew chief, but I went into what's called production control, which in the civilian world, that's being the director of maintenance in the Army. So production control, I instilled a lot of skills of managing people, whether all the back shops, whether avionics, prop and rotor, electricians, sheet metal guys, and everybody who answered to me. An officer, we had an officer, it was only two of us, an officer and an NCO. So production control skills that I learned, managing multiple aircraft. To one point, I was managing 32 helicopters in the Army. So putting that to use and bringing it out here to the civilian world helps a lot. And again, the leadership skills and learning and put them all to use. Everything that I learned, maintenance-wise, also it kind of scares me, and sometimes it scares people. I have a very good memory. I learned something, And it sticks with me.
Yeah.
Because you ask me the same question a year from now, so I'll remember step by step on how to do it, what we did and how we got to the troubleshooting steps. How did we fix this? My memories sometimes scares people.
I wish I had that problem. Going back to leadership, that's something on the Hangers Z podcast and on the Vertical MRO podcast we talk about a lot, because I think it's an underdeveloped skill. A lot of times in public safety aviation in particular, or in law enforcement, on a Friday you take a test, and on a Monday you're promoted, and congratulations, now you're a supervisor, now you're in leadership. And a lot of times in law enforcement in particular, that person hasn't really developed or been developed as a leader. They're just now, congratulations, here you are. Mm-hmm. I think we need to do a better job of developing those leadership traits in all of our folks, so that when they do get to the position, they're kind of in a position already where they've been given some of the tools to be effective leaders. Can you talk about, from your perspective, what's some advice you would have for a new leader, something that has worked for you in your management of people, like you said?
Yeah. Well, managing the people and the managing of the unit too is kind of twofold. And I happen to be in the middle of doing that right now within the unit here, because we have a new supervisor. And there seems to be a lot of change in supervisors. People get promoted and same thing, they got to leave the unit. It's like, oh, I wish you would stay here, because you got all the things that going on. But you have to teach them what they need to know on how to run a unit. That's the first thing. And reason I say that, because somehow I got involved in things that weren't my duty description. I was running the budget. I'm running the budget here, and I still am. And so, wait a minute, this is not even part of my job title or duty description. But because there was such a handover of changing of people, changeover of supervisors here, leaders, I said, well, there's no continuity. So we're losing contracts, we're losing how to do things, or we're losing how day-to-day operations should be done. And I kind of like, okay, well, now I know this because I was asked to help. So once Sergeant David Torres, he asked me to help, I helped, and I kind of kept the budget going. We don't run out of fuel. What are these parts or maintenance and repairs or whatnot? There's a lot involved, and I got my hands involved in that too, and running this unit. And everybody thanks me for that too, because if it wasn't for me, a lot of things will fall through the crack also. But teaching these new people the leadership skills, it's not just that. It's like I say, how to run a unit.
Yeah, in law enforcement aviation, like you said, there is a high turnover because of promotions. And what you brought up is a great point. You are that one source of continuity. Right. You're there. You're a leader in title, as director of maintenance, but also not so much, because you're also leading the flight side operations, which is great. So I love that you've been asked, and you've also taken the responsibility on yourself to take on these roles and responsibilities that are outside of your job title. That's what's led to the success, I would imagine, of your unit as a whole. You look at some of the successful operations that your unit's been a part of, and one of them I saw, this was, I think, around either APSCON or Verticon. There was a video of an incident where one of your air crews prevented some officers walking into open area with a gunman, and they prevented the officers essentially from getting shot.
Yeah. And
those things don't happen outside of your ability to lead the unit and maintain the aircraft. So kudos to you for all of that.
Thank you.
Can you talk about the transition from the Army and then ultimately to your position now with San Antonio? Thank you for tuning in to part 1 of this conversation. Be sure to catch part 2. It's packed with more insights you won't want to miss.
Stand by for a message after a word from our sponsors.
Thanks to our sponsor, Airbus. Airbus provides the most efficient helicopter solutions to its customers who serve, protect, and save lives and safely carry passengers in demanding environments. Its civil and military helicopters are flying all over the world, making missions possible. Visit airbus.com for more information.
Thank you to our sponsor, HeliLadder. Enhance your fall protection and maintenance efficiency with HeliLadder, the industry standard of ladder work stands. The iconic orange MX5 system is fully modular and compatible with countless aircraft models for any type of operation, making you money by preventing accidents and reducing maintenance errors. For a free quote and special discounts, visit heliladder.com. Focus on your work, not your balance. Thank you to our sponsor, Metro Aviation. Metro Aviation, the world's largest family-owned aeromedical operator, offers comprehensive aircraft services with 140 plus aircraft in over 25 states. The Completion Center installs medical and law enforcement kits and avionics, serving diverse aviation needs including offshore, utility, VIP, and corporate sectors. Thank you for tuning into this episode of the Vertical MRO Podcast, brought to you by Vertical HeliCASTS and in partnership with Vertical Magazine. We've had the privilege of sitting down with Adam Garcia, a helicopter maintenance professional whose nearly 5-decade career spans military service, public safety, and leadership. Adam's journey reminds us of the importance of innovation, adaptability, and dedication in our industry. His insights into evolving aircraft technology, team leadership, and the enduring spirit of service offer valuable lessons for all of us committed to keeping helicopters mission ready and flying safe. As Adam approaches retirement, his stories and advice serve as an inspiring legacy for future generations. We thank him for sharing his experiences and for the contributions to aviation safety and excellence. Stay tuned for more stories from the world of helicopter maintenance and operations right here on the Vertical MRO Podcast.